Derek Henry because the Ravens aren't serious. That's the cost of make or break season, off season. Good evening, flock. Good evening, everyone, on this Thursday evening. This is what I will rightly call a Purple Friday, but on a Thursday stream. I hope everyone is doing well. Listen, we got to talk. It's been a while. I haven't been on the camera for about a week now, and I missed you guys. And so let's catch up. Let's see what's been happening with these Ravens. We'll also talk tonight about what's been going on throughout the NFL. There have been a lot of movement and transactions and trades and signings going on. Let's dive right into it. So the first thing I wanted to talk about tonight, first thing on my agenda, on the to-do list, is to talk about wide receivers. Now, for me, that has been a very precarious place that I think I find myself as a Ravens fan, because I know that at the helm right now for the Ravens, we have a talent that is unlike any we've ever seen. And Lamar is, to me, arguably one of the best out there to do it in the game. And like, for what I'm thinking about mostly is, how do we do right by him? How do we surround Lamar? How do we give Lamar what he needs? So I said, well, let's start by taking a look at what other teams have done or what other teams are doing to invest in their quarterback, the quarterback who they believe in. And for us as Ravens fans, I hope that we believe in Lamar Jackson. I hope that we believe in his talent. I hope we believe in his ability. He stood on the platform or the podium and he said, I'm bringing a championship to Baltimore. You can believe that. And I do believe him. The only problem I have is he's been here now with us his entire career. These are the prime years, I would say, for a quarterback. And for Lamar not to have a true number one wide receiver who is healthy in his prime as well. I don't mean someone who is, I don't even like to say over the hill, but someone who is on the tail end of his career, rather someone who is still that guy, still that receiver. And a name that floated around in the past few weeks in terms of, hey, let's bring Lamar Jackson, let's bring him a Stephon Diggs. And as you all know, Stephon Diggs was recently traded over to the Houston Texans. Now, my personal opinion of Stephon, is he an upgrade from the wide receivers that we had in years past, last year, the year before that? Certainly. He absolutely is. But I also consider the totality of the player, of the individual. And personality-wise, I had some concerns for Stephon Diggs. I don't know if he would have been a good fit. I still think he would have been an excellent wide receiver for Lamar Jackson. I don't take that away from him, not at all. He's still a remarkable player. He's very, very talented, very good. And certainly he would have been an instant upgrade from what we had last year. And as I mentioned a few moments ago, how other teams are viewing their quarterback and how they view what it takes to put that quarterback in a position where he can succeed. And look at the Houston Texans. They were right there, knocking on the door, right alongside of us last year. And when they lost to the Ravens, their head coach, D'Amico Ryans, he said, "What do I need to do?" The general manager, I can't remember his name, they said, "We were on the cusp. We just need to go and get a few more pieces. We just need to get just a few more weapons for CJ, who had a phenomenal rookie season. He is the guy to me. He really is. Up and comer, young, talented, energetic, just seemingly a good, wholesome, good-hearted young man. So the Texans, they re-strategized, they recalibrated, right? They add, you know, Stephon Diggs to an already impressive wide receiver core. They have Tank Dell, Nico Collins. They also have John Mechie. Now you add a Stephon to that with the talent of CJ Stroud. The Texans are looking very scary on paper. We'll see if they can put it all together when the season begins. But my point is, this is what I personally would like to see the Ravens do for Lamar. So that leaves us with, who else is out there? Who would we like to see? We're a month into free agency. The first wave of talent has signed elsewhere. They're in place, but there's still some good ones out there. T. Higgins. And if we need to make a trade for Justin Jefferson, if we need to make a trade for Brandon Ayuk, if we need to make a trade, and by trade, I mean relinquish draft capital for a Debo Samuel, we really need to be thinking about that. I am still hopeful in EDC. I'm still optimistic that some number one, and when I say number one, what I mean by number one, wide receiver is a person who you could put on any team in the NFL and they still would maintain their spot as number one. Or they would at least be in a viable position to be a possible number two. Because I mean, if you put someone alongside Justin Jefferson, I'm still going to take Justin as number one. But my point is, get someone who is so versatile that you can plug and play and put him anywhere and he would thrive. He would succeed just because of his talent alone. So I'll take a minute right here just to say hello to everyone who joined. I see we have Nana. Good evening. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining tonight. We also have Songstress for Real. Good to see you. Thank you. I hope you are doing well also. And for me, going back to the wide receiver, I really am still going to believe that, I don't know if it's going to happen on draft night. I don't know if it's going to happen after June 1st, but whenever it happens, I still am hopeful that we will have at the end of the day, when our roster is fully constructed, we will have a true number one wide receiver who is healthy and instantaneously ready to contribute. Now, personally, I would like to have that person on the squad sooner rather than later so that he can begin to develop the chemistry and build that connection with Lamar. I think time spent together practicing in the off season, or at least practicing together as it comes closer to the start of preseason, is important. So I know that historically the Ravens have had a mentality of kind of hurry up to wait. And then we as fans, we wait. And then we wait. And then we wait some more. But I would really like to see us be a little bit more aggressive because I think that the extra time together with Lamar and the new addition to whoever we're going to bring in, because I'm still speaking it into existence that we are going to get a Justin Jefferson, a Brandon Ayuk, a Debo Samuel. I still believe we will. I do. But I really would like to see us do it quickly and sooner rather than later. That would be great for me. So we also have, thank you for joining. We have Nisha C. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for stopping by. And the Ravens, I think at wide receiver, if we get one, I will be happy. I will be really happy if we get one true number one wide receiver. And let that wide receiver be ready to produce. And we brought in last year on April the 9th, we brought in OBJ. He was, to me, at that time, I thought, this is exciting. It's definitely a way to lure Lamar into signing a contract. But I thought, okay, under Todd Monken, his new system, we can see how, or we will see how effective OBJ can be, especially since he had so long to heal after his injury. And then we acquired him, we brought him on board, and he was just really I don't want to say a disappointment, but he was not that guy. He was less than productive. I would have wanted more, especially for the amount of money that we paid him. So I hope that that was a lesson learned. And I hope that the Ravens are taking note, paying attention, and thinking strategically about what moves they can make in order to make it happen where they bring in a healthy wide receiver. That to me is very important. The next topic I have to discuss is the O line. Now, I have all but resigned myself to accept, okay, that a good portion of our O line will be rookies. I'm not comfortable with that. I know we still have Ronnie Stanley. I know we have Pat McCary, and we use him in various positions. I understand that. I'm just a little concerned about putting so much stock emphasis on Ronnie Stanley and so much concentration on him because he's not been what I would think fully healthy since his injury. And yes, I know that additional time, the off season and allowing him to have some more time to rest could be beneficial. But on the opposite end of the pendulum, an argument certainly can be made that he's had how many years since his injury? He's had how long to rehab? And we still haven't seen a fully complete, fully healthy, completely rehabbed Ronnie. So the left tackle is so important. It is Lamar's blind side. We cannot leave that to chance. So I think moving closer to the start of the preseason and as training camp, mini camp, rookie camp, all the camps, as they get started and this roster starts to take shape, I'm hoping that there will be by some strange miracle, that our offensive linemen are not primarily rookies. We put all of our eggs in the basket for Tyler Linderbaum, and it was wonderful. It worked out beautifully for us. Tyler has been a solid center for Lamar. He understood the assignment. And when it was his time for his number to be called, he stepped up and he answered. That's lovely. It's wonderful to see. But that's not always the case. And for me, I want to make sure that Lamar is protected. I want to ensure that those who are, quote, the wall that we're building around Lamar are equipped and they're ready and they're prepared and they're well able. So that's another big concern that we still have not addressed. I know in the upcoming streams, I'll cover some of the draft picks that I think we should take or we should really consider. And for me, it's going to be a heavy concentration on O line this draft. Wide receiver is certainly up there in terms of priority, but I do think that the bulk of our focus really needs to be on building that wall for Lamar. We've got Holy Bro in the building. Hello. You agree that go get Brandon Ayuk or someone like that? Yes, yes. I'm with you there. I'm glad you agree because what would our offense look like if we have a Brandon Ayuk paired with Derrick Henry in the backfield? And at the helm, we have Lamar Jackson. We'd be a dangerous team, very dangerous, almost unstoppable, I would say. Nana says, Yolanda, oh my goodness, OBJ was a disaster that Steve Bisciotti created. He would have let EDC, he should have let EDC do his job. I really don't think that OBJ was, he wasn't it for us. And I wanted to believe that. I wanted to have some buy-in, right? I wanted to give some grace. I'm very big on extending grace to people because I know I need grace extended to me. And as a fan, it's not always the easiest thing, but OBJ just, he was just very underwhelming. Songstress for real says, yes, I hope we draft a left tackle. That would be amazing. That would be amazing. But if Ronnie and I think if we are going to draft a left tackle, and we need a guard too, so there's several positions on the offensive line that need to be addressed. But if we are bringing in a left tackle in the draft, if we're drafting a left tackle, I really hope that whoever we land, or whoever lands on our flight deck, whoever we decide to go all in, that this is a generational talent type of tackle. Because I hate to say it, Ronnie Stanley's years as the starting left tackle, at least for the Baltimore Ravens, in my opinion, those days, those years are numbered. They're limited. I don't foresee us moving in the future with Ronnie Stanley beyond this season. I don't know when his contract is up, but unless Ronnie has a phenomenal year and unless Ronnie just completely wows everyone, I think the idea is we need to look into bringing someone who can be that left tackle moving forward. So that's kind of what I'm envisioning for this draft. Nana says, no excuses. Stanley has been hurt ever since he signed his monster. It literally, I think it was like the next day, wasn't it, Nana? Like, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I remember it was very soon after he signed his deal. Like, I really want to say it was like literally the next day he got injured. Right. And Nana said that's been over 3 years. That's been over 3 years ago. So look who we have in the building. We have Big Reg, living big with Big Reg. Please make sure that you go over to Big Reg's channel because he is a YouTuber who loves the Baltimore Ravens for the most part. I think he disagrees with some of the decision making, but who doesn't disagree with the Ravens decision making from time to time? Mostly all of us do. But please go over to his channel because not only does he talk about the Ravens, he gives you that life content where you just really can relate to what he's saying and what he's talking about. It just hits home and it's thought-provoking and it's just a really good time. So take 2.5, head over to Big Reg, Living Big with Big Reg. Head over to his channel, subscribe, come back. We'll still be here, and you can thank me later. I I think the Ravens have. I agree with you, Reg. The Ravens have some work to do with the O line. They certainly do. If I were to say one position group that looks right now to be in shambles, to be an absolute question mark, it would be this offensive line, hands down. Because I think at least at wide receiver, we have Zay Flowers. I think we have Nelson Aguilar, who was slightly above average last year. I know he's a little older, but he still is a veteran who has experience. And I just don't see the well roundedness of the O line just yet. But as I said at the beginning of the stream, I am going to remain optimistic and I'm going to remain positive. And I really believe that some miracle will happen where we get Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk, Debo Samuel, or a combination of the three. I'd be happy with one of them, but certainly if they want to bring in two, that's good with me. You're very welcome, Reg. You're very welcome. We also have Mr. Hendo from the Rogue Pod. Good evening. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for stopping by. Please make sure you go over to his channel because if anybody is an expert in the area of football and especially the Baltimore Ravens, because he's been a fan since day one, you want to go check out his channel because his content is just factually correct. So please make sure you do that. And you can thank me again later. Another position group that I wanted to touch on when I was writing my notes, I did not have the update from this afternoon. As we all heard, we know the Ravens re-signed Kyle Van Noy. I was really happy about this one because I wanted Jadeveon Clowney, but I also wanted Kyle Van Noy to come back too, realizing a few weeks ago prior to Clowney signing with the Panthers last week, I wanted both of the players to come back, realizing that that was not realistic. It was still a hope of mine. It was still a wish, but I'm very excited to have Kyle Van Noy back. And although he is up in his 30s, early 30s, he still was an incredible athlete. He still was all over the field, causing havoc. And to have that veteran presence at edge was wonderful. I do say this is the year that Ojabo and Odafe Awe must answer the call. This is the year that we need to see production from both of them healthy and consistently. I am ecstatic to have Kyle back, but I want to temper expectations. He's a year older. And with that year now, it's just like any of us. We're not the same as we were a year ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. These are athletes and their bodies. I mean, life gets the best of them too. I believe that he still has a lot left to offer and to give. He has a lot left in the tank, and I'm looking forward to it. But I also want to make sure we don't overextend and overutilize him because Odafe and David Ojabo are not performing. I do think. Now you guys come back and bookmark this live stream because you're going to hear it here first. I'm going to give you a hot take. Make sure you bookmark it, save it, and we'll talk about it later in the season. I do think if, and let me preface this by saying if both Ojabo and Owe remain healthy. I know Ojabo has been non-existent, really, practically. And Owe missed a few games last season. But if the two of them can stay healthy, because we had Jadeveon Clowney last year, because we had Kyle Van Noy last year, and now we'll have Kyle again this year, I think the fact that they were able to sit under their leadership It's not always about being so openly vocal or getting in your face, or it can just be, hey, let me talk to you about this. I noticed that you did this, but maybe next time you do it this way. Or why don't you watch out for when you see the offense doing this? That means that they're probably planning that. It can be just that kind of strategy that the young guys soak in and become all the more better for having had a seasoned, or two, in fact, two seasoned, excellent edge rushers on the team in the locker room last year. With that comes the expectation to whom much is given, much is required. And by that, I mean you have now been given the tools to succeed. You have now been shown how to do it. You have now been taught this is the way. And they taught it by leading. They taught it by demonstrating. They taught it by showing how many sacks did Clowney have at his age and how many games did he play. I don't have the stats in front of me, and I'm sure somebody's in the chat who might know it offhand. Same thing can be said about Kyle Van Noy. They demonstrated it on the field with their play game after game. And so, because of that, the expectation for me has risen greatly. We don't have both of them back, but we have one. And I really expect Kyle Van Noy to not have such a large role as he did last year because Ojabo was absent. I want to see Ojabo on the field. And not only do I want to see him on the field, I want to see him and Owe successful on the field. That's what I'm looking for at Edge this year. Uh-oh, I see Tanja in here. Good evening, Tanja. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Yolanda about to give Owe his props. You already know if you're on my channel or if you even before I started the channel, if you watch me in streams, yes, I'm the Owe police. I'm gonna come get you if you talk about him. He's improving. Owe is improving, but I want to hold his feet to the fire because accountability for me is big. And Tanja says she agrees that he will take a step in the right direction. Yeah, I hope so. I'm hoping for a breakout season for them. That's a good question. Who is your player? And Tanja just answered it, but feel free to change your answer or revise it. But who is your player that you really want to see have a breakout season this year? Who is that person that you really need to see? I need to see them have a breakout year. For me, it would be Ojabo. Oh, goodness. We have Mr. Galloway in the house. Thank you so much for coming, Mr. Galloway. That's Trey, Mr. Double R Galloway. Please take a moment, go over to Mr. Galloway's channel, subscribe to his channel because you're going to love the content that he and Hendo from the Rogue Pod bring to you. If you like music and you are into hip hop, especially the old school, please do yourselves a favor. Go over and subscribe because they are doing some wonderful things. And even for those who might not really be into hip hop, you never know because there could be a lesson learned in the weeds. So just make sure you go over and subscribe. We also have Don C in the house. Good evening, Don C. I hope you are doing well. Thank you for coming by. But yeah, so for me, oh, I see this comment right here. Hendo misspelled the word Owe there. He meant Owe. So Owe has been improving for years. Yes, he has. And this is going to be a great year for him. It's going to be an awesome year. So I'm looking forward to it. You're very welcome. Very welcome. I was going to also say that when you're talking about an edge rusher, the fact that we brought Kyle Van Noy back really almost solidified that position group for me. That was a concern prior to the news that came out a few hours ago about us re-signing him. That was a bit of a concern, we lost Jadeveon Clowney last week to the Panthers. I was hoping we could bring him back, but we didn't. But now that we have Kyle Van Noy coming back, I'm not as concerned about edge. I think we have bigger needs on the team right now. So let's just move on. So I don't think they'll add more to the outside linebacker position, but you never know. I prefer that we focus on the offensive line. And once we're done there, if by virtue of us having some extra capital, go address a wide receiver. Another position that is one to watch out for because I think we need depth. I think corner is something that we need to pay attention to as well. Perhaps not as much attention to corner as O line, wide receiver, but we really need to think, be thinking about how can we ensure that we have sufficient depth and cornerback. That's something that the Ravens should also think about. And last, before I end, because I have hit that 30-minute mark and I try to keep my streams between 30 and 45 minutes. Sometimes we just get on here and we just talk, okay? We got a lot to talk about. But it hasn't been a whole lot going on with the Ravens other than Kyle Van Noy coming back and other than us losing Jadeveon to the Panthers. Shout out to the Panthers. Rodney and Mr. J the Six, whoever else is, a Panthers fan. I think D Weezy is one too. Their team has been making moves this offseason. Pretty impressive. I'm pretty impressed. They are saying, like, we have this quarterback here. We need to figure out how we can, build around him. We drafted him. We still believe in him. It was a horrible season last year, but I cannot say it was totally his fault. And so the fact that they're taking steps, to remedy the issues, then, I'm happy with that. I think, as I was saying before, I went off on a tangent, but that's okay because that's what we do around here. We can just go off on tangents. But like as I was going to say in conclusion or toward the end of the stream, I think for me, the strategy that the Ravens use in terms of hurry up to wait, let's wait until all of the top-notch players are signed or they're moved, they're traded, and they're with their new teams. We'll see what's kind of left over. We'll see what we can get at a discount. We'll see what we can get at a bargain. While I'm certainly one that's going to be frugal, and I believe in frugality. Let me be clear. But I do balance that with you get what you pay for. And if you are not willing to invest, and it can sometimes be a healthy, heavy contract. Sure, but it can also be you relinquishing draft capital to bring in that person, that guy who really could change the trajectory of your team. Do it. And I'd love to see it. But we're in a posture right now of let's wait and let's keep waiting because I don't think we're going to address O-line, wide receiver right now. I'm not expecting us to. But with that, I will say I do have the expectation that we will eventually, maybe not right now, but we will eventually provide Lamar Jackson the talent, the weapons that he needs. And for that, I'm going to remain optimistic. And I mentioned it in one of my previous streams, and I'll say it again. Because EDC managed to sign Lamar Jackson last offseason, I did not believe it was going to happen. I, for one, thought Lamar Jackson and I, because yes, we are a package deal. I, for one, thought Lamar Jackson and I were packing our proverbial bags and we were about to be off to Miami Dolphins. We were about to be off to another team somewhere down south, wherever. Or there was a young lady in the streams last year. I haven't seen her. I hope she's okay, Sharon. But she really wanted Lamar out on the West Coast. I was fine with going to the West Coast. If that's where Lamar and I decided to go, I was going to be happy about it. But the fact that EDC managed to get that together, managed to close the deal, I am now going to give him a little bit more grace. I'm going to give him a little bit more credit. We'll come back, certainly, at the end of the offseason or even before then, once our roster is really, taking shape and it's constructed and we have a pretty good idea of where the Ravens are headed in terms of who's going to vie for that starting role and who's going to be our backup. Once we have a clearer picture of that, we'll come back and I'll tell you, you see, I knew it. He was going to do it. Or it will be a conversation where I say, well, I really thought that this was going to happen. We don't have Justin Jefferson. We don't have Brandon Ayuk. We don't have Debo Samuel. And so, whatever the outcome is, at this point, at this time, I'm still remaining a little bit optimistic. I still am holding out just a little bit of hope because I really do believe that if he brought Lamar here, if EDC managed to get the deal done, there has to be, in my mind, Eric DaCosta has to have that vote of confidence in Lamar, and not just that vote of confidence, but the understanding that Lamar cannot do it by himself. One comment that was made, and we talked about it in the previous stream, but one comment that was made was by Harbaugh at his presser a week ago. He said, the Ravens offense will look completely different next year, but Lamar will be okay. That stayed with me because I don't want to just see Lamar as okay. I want to see Lamar being great because he is great. I want to see Lamar optimized. I want to see the talent that, for us to maximize his talent. And I really want to see Lamar Jackson on full display in terms of what he can do. And the way you do that is you bring in the people who can help him. And you bring in those who really can help him to get us to that, not just the AFC Championship, but to get us to the Super Bowl and win it all. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you all so much for coming by. I hope, I hope for the best. I don't know if there's going to be much happening over the next couple of weeks leading up to the draft, but whatever takes place, we'll be right here to talk about it. Anyway, I hope you guys take care. I hope you all stay safe. And remember, always go Ravens. God bless. I'll see you soon.